Yo, what is up everyone? It's Zen Gaming back at it with another one. Alright, so today we are jumping into the ByteRunner versus MovieGamesSA conflict. So I did actually have like a small interview with MovieGamesSA and the ByteRunner team. So I'm basically gonna break it down for you guys here so that you guys can see what's happening. Okay, just a disclaimer, I am using a video from someone that created content on this game. I haven't had a chance to play the game to actually make a video on it, so I will leave a link down below and just thank the creator for me being able to use this video. Hopefully the creator doesn't mind, but I will tag the creator. Alright, but in any case, so let's jump in. So today we are diving in one of the most controversial disputes in the indie gaming scene. The fallout between ByteRunner Games SA and their publisher, ByteRunner Games, well, I take it it's ByteRunner Games, or it's just ByteRunner, and their publisher, MovieGamesSA, over the drug dealer simulator franchise. What started as a promising partnership that gave us one of Steam's cult hits has now turned into a lawsuit, unpaid revenue, accusations of broken contracts, and a fight over who's really in control of the future of Drug Dealer Simulator. Let's break down the timeline, the claims for both sides, and why this has become one of the biggest cautionary tales for the developer and the publisher in recent years. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So ByteRunner Games are the original developer behind Drug Dealer Simulator. Sorry if I keep saying ByteRunner Games because it sounds weird just to say ByteRunner. Okay, but in any case, so let's move forward. So ByteRunner is the original drug developer behind the drug dealer games, an underground hit that unexpectedly blew up on Steam, with MovieGamesSA being the publisher. The first game gained a solid following, and naturally, Drug Dealer Simulator 2 followed. At first, things were good. ByteRunner had plans for quality of life updates, drivable cars, and big DLC, which MovieGamesSA wanted to expand the series and eventually bring it to consoles, but this is where the trouble started. So let's go back to when Schedule 1 actually released. In 2025, I think it was in March, if I'm not mistaken, and then another developer by the name of Tyler from TVGS Development released a game called Schedule 1. MovieGamesSA investigated TVGS for IP infringement, claiming similarities to the DDS IP. ByteRunner, however, publicly distanced themselves, wishing TVGS sorry guys, like I said, I'm using a YouTube video, so I'm just gonna pause when an ad comes up. Okay, so what I wanted to say, ByteRunner, however, publicly distanced himself, wishing TVGS good luck and stating they had no involvement in the investigation towards Schedule 1. But this incident created tension between ByteRunner Games and MovieGamesSA. I'm just gonna say ByteRunner because it just sounds weird. From that point, trust between the two companies began to break down. Okay, so let's jump into when it started as well, because from my interviews between the developer and the publisher, it all went on the gun mechanics. So yes, where things get started. MovieGamesSA pushed ByteRunners to implement gun combat in Drug Dealer Simulator 2 as part of a planned DLC. ByteRunner refused, saying that the work was too complex for their small team and outside the vision they had for the series. Instead, they wanted to focus on cars, polish, and community requested improvements. According to Martian, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from ByteRunners, we were told that we only get our promised console revenue share if we added guns. The alternative, stop working entirely and walk away. From ByteRunner's perspective, this was blackmail. Work on features you don't want to lose everything, basically. Okay, so then, guys, this is, I don't know how to explain it. It's something big. Obviously, this is all I know that was publicly shared with me, and obviously from what you guys have seen that's publicly available. So let's get into the money side of stuff. Things escalated fast. ByteRunners claims they never got paid for the June 20th update, even though MovieGamesSA is selling that content right now. They allege that after they spoke to the Polish news outlet Pol's Biznesy, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Again, guys, English is also not my native language, so I might make mistakes, and I don't know from what country is that, but in any case, MovieGamesSA retaliated by cutting off the access to the drug dealer simulator source code, banning them from the official Discord and slapping them with a $1.23 million penalty fee. Martian told me directly, we received the bill meant to bleed us dry simply so they wouldn't have to pay us our Steam revenue share. Now we effectively have no income as a studio. That's harsh. But okay, MovieGamesSA on the other hand says that this isn't a lawsuit but rather a contract penalty for missed deadlines over 300 unfixed bugs and refusing to add features that they requested, which is obviously the gun mechanics. So let's dive into MovieGamesSA side of the story. So ByteRunners were only a studio for hire. They didn't own the drug dealer simulator IP, MovieGames does. ByteRunners wanted 40% of console revenue even though they did no work on those versions, which I totally disagree with. They made Drug Dealer Simulator 1, they made Drug Dealer Simulator 2. They are the heads, or basically the main developers of the game. Even though they didn't do the port, which goes to console, they still made the complete game. So they are entitled to the revenue share that comes from the console versions. They are still the developers of the game. But you guys can let me know down below what you think about this. But in any case, let's move on. Deadlines were constantly missed, updates unfinished, and bugs ignored. They were paid fairly for their work and were even offered console revenue out of goodwill. In short, MovieGamesSA paints ByteRunners as unprofessional, unwilling to compromise, and making unreasonable financial demands. They've since formed the internal team to continue development on the Drug Dealer Simulator IP, and there's even a Drug Dealer Simulator 3, which is gonna come out, which was officially pronounced on the Drug Dealer Simulator Discord. So from the ByteRunners perspective, ByteRunners side is very different. They say they poured 7 years of hard work and passion into the DDS IP. MovieGamesSA changed plans at the last minute, demanding guns over cars. Content they made is being sold without payment towards ByteRunners. Steam revenue shares stopped after they went public. MovieGamesSA used legal pressure and threats instead of fair negotiations. They even submitted, so ByteRunners submitted a settlement proposal in July 2025, which MovieGamesSA ignored. To ByteRunners, this isn't just a contract dispute, it's a betrayal by a publisher they trusted. So, just to add to this, so earlier I said that Paul Biznesy or Paul's Biznesy, sorry guys if I'm pronouncing that incorrect. So, like I said, they did send a settlement proposal in July 2025, okay? So they were basically ignored by MovieGamesSA, and then later on, after the article that came out, MovieGamesSA basically contacted ByteRunners and told ByteRunners, okay, you know what, we can settle this. But then ByteRunners decided the offer that they made is not good enough, so they decided, you know what, this is not going to work for me, so no, you can leave it. And ByteRunners also kept on claiming that they want a new adventure. They basically tired of the Drug Dealer Simulator franchise. from what I gather. So either way, ByteRunner would have stepped away. But my problem of the matter is, why would ByteRunner ignored by MovieGamesSA with the settlement proposal, and they were ignored until that article came out? Because when that article came out, then MovieGamesSA made contact, and yeah, no, I don't know. That just doesn't add up. But let's move on. So where does things stand now? As of September 2025, ByteRunner has no access to the Drug Dealer Simulator IP, source code, or revenue. MovieGamesSA is continuing DDS updates internally and moving towards console ports. The partnership is effectively dead, with both sides accusing the other of manipulation, dishonesty, and sabotage. So this is now where I want to hear from you guys. Who is in the right here? On one side, ByteRunner claims that they were bullied into adding features they didn't want, had their work stolen, and were cut off from revenue. On the other hand, MovieGamesSA insists that ByteRunner was unreliable, missed deadlines, and wanted money they weren't entitled to. The truth behind might lie somewhere in between, but one thing is for sure: this is a brutal example of how messy developer-publisher relationships can get. Do you think MovieGamesSA was right to enforce the contract, or did ByteRunner get unfairly pushed out of their own creation? Drop your thoughts and comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more deep dives into the biggest stories in gaming. Okay, so yes, like I said, let me know what you guys think. From my point of view, this is now my honest opinion. From my point of view, this is a difficult situation. So on the one hand, I do understand MovieGamesSA side. So obviously, this is now my point of view. This isn't what I told the publisher. This is not what I told the developer. I haven't said anything. This is the first time that anyone is going to hear this. From my point of view, they want to be similar to Drug Dealer Simulator 1, and ByteRunner, they don't want that. They want it to be their own IP, basically, even though they don't own the IP, but you guys know what I mean. So obviously Drug Dealer Simulator released, they had guns, they had drugs, they had all of this, car driving. It was everything everyone wanted from basically a drug perspective, and that game blew up. Sorry guys, like I said, and that game actually blew up. So now, well, now the issue is, now MovieGamesSA wants to be like Schedule 1 and hope they make something out of it. I hope they can also make millions, billions. I don't know. That is just from my point of view. But on the other hand, ByteRunner also only did what they wanted to do, even though they don't own the IP. So it's a difficult one. I know they made this game out of love, and you know, they love... well, like I said, I spoke to Gabe and I spoke to Martian, and I can see the dedication that they have as a studio towards the IP. But also, I spoke to, I think it's Mikkel from MovieGamesSA, and he basically explained to me that doesn't matter what happened, even if they were kicked out of the project, they wanted out of the DDS IP. They didn't want to be a part of the Drug Dealer Simulator IP anymore. So effectively, they were actually gonna leave the Drug Dealer Simulator IP after number 1, DDS 1 released. So basically, they said they're done. And then MovieGamesSA made an offer to them and basically asked them, you know what, let's just make Drug Dealer Simulator 2, let's make the car updates and one big update after that, and then you guys can leave, basically. And eventually ByteRunner accepted, and we got Drug Dealer Simulator 2. So ByteRunner also told me that they were done. Obviously they want to move on, they want to jump into a new IP, which I can respect, anyone can respect. They've been working on the Drug Dealer simulator for, like they said, 7 years. So it was time as a team basically to move on. So it's yeah, I don't know, guys. It's a very complicated situation that I do agree with the publisher and I do agree with the developer, but at the end of the day, even though they were kicked from the Discord and the source code, they would have walked away anyway, even before all of this fighting, because MovieGamesSA basically told me that on a numerous times, ByteRunners kept telling them they're done, they're done, they're done. But now that they got kicked, now it's a problem. So I'm not agreeing with Movie Games and I'm not agreeing with ByteRunners. Yes, I see ByteRunners as the heart and soul behind the drug dealer simulator. I can actually show you guys, I own both of the games. I'm a big fan of it. But at the end of the day, they would have walked away. It doesn't matter what happened. They would have walked away from the DDS IP. Okay, the fact that they weren't paid for the July 20th update, I don't agree with that. And also, they are busy selling stuff, and so ByteRunners didn't actually come clean on exactly what, but it sounds like ByteRunners owns something that they made in the Drug Dealer Simulator 2 IP. They pushed the update after they were kicked from the Discord and don't have the source code anymore, and they were not paid for that work. I'm not exactly sure what. I didn't ask, they didn't tell. So I figure it's basically a secret. I don't know. Okay, obviously it's public, but it's not something that me and you or this person should know. It's between the developer and the publisher. So yes, guys, I think that's about it. Please let me know what you guys think of this. And then again, I do just want to thank the creator that I used the YouTube video on. Like I said, I will tag the creator. Right, but then I'll see you guys in the next one.